We might consciously or subconsciously choose to emphasize our shadow when we feel that there is not enough conflict, emotion, passion, or fire in our life to break through into higher vibrational and more fulfilling experiences. Life is okay, our job is okay, family is okay, we are okay, but the general feeling of being is one of being stuck. By using our darker side or our shadow, we can go into our anger and other emotions, amplifying and increasing these so that we can feel more passion and use it to create breakthroughs in other areas of our life. Shadow work is often connected to our sexuality, with sex being the ultimate expression of polarity. Repressed sexual desires, the ones we judge as bad, viewed in a different light, are often messages from our subconscious or higher self. It means there is something left for us to learn, normally related to our relationship with polarity, how we work with duality on the masculine and feminine polarity framework, and psychology, our personal conditioning, normally from childhood, our beliefs and our behaviors. But the more we repress our primal and animal instincts, the more twisted or even perverted they can become. But not all shadow work is sexual, as the maps show. Every immature trait has a shadow aspect, are extremely unhealthy and immature. If we venture deeply into our shadows, we might find ourselves in subcultures of society, from sex clubs to fight clubs to non-peaceful forms of activism and protest, to underground music scenes, American redneck festivals, death metal mosh dance pits, and the goth, magic or Wicca communities of the occult. Some of these places attract people consciously working on their shadow, as well as very grounded people who subconsciously know that they need this kind of release to create balance. Many people simply crave to experience negativity, loss, pain and suffering and darkness as a way to create balance, as a basic form of emotional alchemy. Unfortunately, there are also those who are simply there because they are lost, confused, and consumed by their shadow and self-destructive behaviors. Due to the traumas in their life and negative energies and entities that control them through fear to do bad or violent things to themselves or others. In my simple worldview, these people need support to work on themselves with tools like the ones in this course, while living in a healthy and supportive environment or potentially a community. Actively working on our shadow desires is not necessarily a bad or evil thing, but the reality is bad and evil things happen when our vibration and desires match them. So we need to be very careful, and for most of us, there is a better way. For people who are lost in their shadow, the laws of attraction and vibration can have a detrimental effect, with the vibration of these people becoming heavier and more negative. Duality will always counteract this polarized polarity in some way, offering a hope and a way out back to a higher vibration, but a lot of willpower is required to take it. Hopefully, understanding why some people become trapped in their shadow gives us reasons not to judge, be it they need to learn something by being there, or that they simply lack the knowledge and understanding to make positive change. We don't know why someone is choosing something and a certain path in life. All we can do is try to understand and trust their path is right for them, and act in a way that helps their evolution. We should not impose what we think is best, as this is normally an unhealthy form of domination and manipulation of our immature. And of course, there are moments where our domination of a situation or our manipulation, co-creation of it can be the healthiest and most needed thing, but this can be very hard to tell without good intuition and knowing. Our common sense is often flawed when our soul is looking for deeper meaning, thus going against common sense, thus doing its shadow work. When entering into shadow work, it is important that we are not susceptible to guilt and shame, but that we have a strong masculine. A weak masculine has a weak will that can bend, and we are most likely to lose ourselves. We can discover a lot about ourselves by finding activities and subcultures with much higher vibrations committed to self-development and personal transcendence, helping us transcend the predominance of the immature masculine that is still found in most traditional and recreational activities. A lot of these groups are more committed to self-development and personal transcendence, actively practicing shadow work in a more conscious and transformative way. Plant medicine, shamanic practices, tantric and conscious sexuality festivals, some yogic communities, conscious kink, polyamorous and other intentional communities, circling groups, process-orientated psychology, NVC, other self-development groups, and even more comical and theatrical events like playback theatre, to name but a few, generally all have a large focus on both first and second level shadow work, but do not emphasize it in extreme or intense ways. As we reframe our shadow and darkness in a potentially positive way, our relationship to judgment changes, and we can take a more encompassing perspective as we become more conscious. Our unconscious fears transform, and as we gain more awareness, our shadow is no longer a nasty place. We could say that the shade is nice on a hot day. A simpler, less risky way to do shadow work is through fantasy and roleplay, finding all the archetypes inside of us that we judge as negative, then acting them out and giving them space to help us understand ourselves more. Using imagination and fantasy in this way can be a powerful tool for self-understanding and transformation. Acting classes, improvised theatre jams, and other creative groups that allow us to express these shadow parts of ourselves in a light and fun way can also be wonderful, but many people need a level of human sexuality in their shadow expressions to fully benefit. When we don't have this, we risk not fully expressing ourselves, thus not achieving our full potential. Finding our fully aligned and authentic self is hard, if not impossible, when expressions of our sexuality are missing. If expressions are missing because we have guilt and shame towards our sexual desires, then to find our aligned and authentic self, we need a safe space to transform these shadow-related sexual desires, taking the feelings of guilt and shame away, leaving us with healthy sexual desires. When we are fearless and conscious at the same time, we realize our dark side is a gift, and using it correctly is an art. Within some intentional communities and eco-villages, a tool called forum is used. It allows creative expressions in all areas of life and relationships to be played out in public, including sexual affairs. Through roleplay and drama, the group experiences different sides and perspectives of a situation causing conflict or pain, so everyone in the group has a more expanded awareness. Anger towards a person or a situation is displayed in a more fun way. Jealousy is acted out in situations to create resonance, so people can take their own learnings from fellow community members' experiences and life dramas. This allows us to see that our story or drama in our life is not really us, it is a shared theme that we can all learn and benefit from, that has many different perspectives and truths, and that our shadow must be given space to express if collectively we are to move to a higher perspective. It gives multiple perspectives to a situation quickly, allowing deeper personal awareness to emerge. Emotions are generally high with a prevailing sense of fun, and each participant experiencing a wide and mixed spectrum of emotion. The conscious sexuality movement and festivals are also making a lot of headway in pioneering ways for humans to be together, while accepting and looking at their shadow. Although these groups seem to have a lot of their own shadow, they are mostly transparent about their failures and learnings in the work of conscious human sexuality. It's important to have a strong masculine in these groups, otherwise becoming a victim is a real risk. But at the same time, a lot of what these groups teach us about is developing the masculine and feminine principles and owning our desires to be sexual predators and victims, that we may have so we can move past these desires. Understanding the more extreme ways to do shadow work can allow our minds to understand the importance of the work, which helps us not feel silly during such acting, role-playing and forum circles. Some of us will never need to emphasize our shadow. Knowing about it and then transforming what we have is generally enough. Third level shadow work is not suitable for this course. First level needs to be practiced first, and second level at least needs to be understood. Fourth level shadow work, in one sense, is everything that all work leads to, as it is the shadow work in the collective consciousness. The purpose of this video was to give ideas and activities, places to look and communities to engage with to deepen your shadow work practices in healthy ways that in turn support you in combining non-dual therapy and the polarity framework with your shadow work practices to find your traumas and set the intentions that you take into your Kundalini bodywork practices. At this point, which will mostly be tantric practices to generate energy and power, to bring the third, the fourth and the fifth dimensions, your sex, mind and heart, your physical, mental and emotional spiritual bodies into alignment.